Each year, it's great to see the Melbourne Cinematheque with its full program for the year screening at Acme. And it's my great pleasure, as always, to speak to the executive programmer of the Melbourne Cinematheque, Michael Koller. Michael, welcome again to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you, Peter. Hope you're well.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you. And I always ask a sort of a prelude question, then we'll go through the program fairly quickly. What were the ideas behind or the process behind scheduling this year's seasons of films?
Look, it's usually fairly similar because we kind of work out what works and what doesn't. And I think certainly the first program of the year, it's kind of pretty obvious where that came from because we had such a successful American noir season last year. We don't want to do noir too, but we do something that's kind of a bit like that anyway. So yeah, that's where that came from. Um, and obviously, we've got a couple of programs that deal with the whole Palestinian thing. Obviously, putting those on was done to fit in with what's going on in the world at the moment. The Jean-Marie Mivy season, we've probably been trying to do that for a little while anyway. She was Goddard's collaborator and partner, and we've been trying to do something about her, but it's been very, very difficult to get the stuff. And even this time round, we had a lot of trouble getting prints because the I can't remember which one it is. One of the Swiss Cinematheques that we're trying to get the prints from, might have been Lausanne. They've actually stopped allowing them out because they're trying to do restorations on the films as well.
Uh,
But I mean, she's you know, a, a director whose films are barely known, I think. Um, and and Goddard regarded her impartially, of course, as a better filmmaker than he was. So, and of course, he was even miffed about the fact that they always seem to talk about her films in, the context of his work as well. So, we're trying to get away from that. And in fact, if you look through the program, she's listed in the things that they worked on together, that her name's listed first in front of that other guy's name.
uh-huh. Okay, interesting to hear that. All right, let's go through the program because again, it looks terrific. Some really great seasons in there. Starting off with these American road movies of the 70s. I mean, great to see Two Lane Blacktop and Wanda, for example. Great to see all those programmed.
You've really got the two bookended ones there, haven't you, in a way? Because
Yeah.
Wanda's kind of that film that was lost and forgotten um, and derided for a very long time, but has in the last decade has kind of been rediscovered. And of course, Two Lane Blacktop has, I think, for a very, very, very long time, has been one of the great masterpieces of the cinema, but it's still underrated, even so.
Hmm.
What was interesting, of course, is that really, the season called "You Can Never Go Fast Enough," which is a line in Two Lane Blacktop, early '70s road movie. But until Easy Rider came along, there was really no such genre as road movies. There were a few before then. There's It Happened One Night. And Grapes of Wrath, which we're screening in our final program of the year,
Yep.
and a few other odd things. But it was suddenly we get to, I think, Easy Rider was 69. Sorry,
Yeah.
yes, 69. And then suddenly there's this explosion of films about, people going on the road and discovering themselves, more or less, or getting discovered by the police who are chasing them.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, the beautiful thing about this season too is that there's such a broad selection of titles we could have run. I mean, we could have, instead of running, for example, Spielberg's Sugarland Express, we could have chosen Duel, which is the other one of his films that kind of would fit in that season, although slightly different, of course.
Hmm.
Because, but yeah, no, I think it's a really strong start of the year. It's a really large variety of things. I mean, as you said, Two Lane Blacktop just that classic, and Badlands, which also
Mm,
is another one of those classics of the cinema that people know. To lesser ones like, Vanishing Point,
mm,
which actually has a race named after it now,
mm.
believe it or not, called
Right.
Vanishing Point. So yeah, and that race is continuing to this day. It is an automobile race, obviously enough, or oddly enough.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think that's a really powerful start to the year, and hopefully we'll be packing them in for that one.
I'm sure you will. And of course, one of my favorites, Five Easy Pieces, which is such a good
Yes, yeah.
film. Yeah.
Well, see, that's why Wonder and Five Easy Pieces, they're the third night. They go together really kind of well because, in a sense, the other films tend to travel over fairly similar terrain, so to speak, while those two films actually go somewhere else.
Mm,
Five Easy Pieces is about a guy going back to his dying father. He's not dead, is he? I can't remember. Um, I think he's going off to visit his father before he dies,
yeah.
and just his fairly kind of languid trip back home, and Wanda, yes, is a kind of gangster film, but it's very much about the working class experience and the experience of being a woman, and so it's very contemporaneous as well for
It
us.
is. We should mention these first 3 weeks start on February the 4th at Acme from
Next
7 o'clock.
Wednesday.
Exactly. And yeah, get in there, get your tickets, get your season passes, all that sort of thing. So you can see these films. And in many cases, we should also mention these are original prints or restored prints or film prints rather necessarily than digital prints. It
Mm.
varies a lot, of course, depending on
Yeah,
what you
I
have
think
access.
we do have quite a bit more 35 mil than we have in over the last few years even. I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously you go back 20 years, it was mainly all that, and we didn't run any of those DCPs or anything like that. And admittedly, I mean, some of the DCPs we ran at that stage were really bloody awful too. I
Oh,
remember watching I think it was a CinemaScope um, authorized version by the photographer or cinematographer of the film, and had been stretched from a standard thing or from widescreen. It looked bloody awful.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, you don't get any of that at the Melbourne Cinematheque, so
No.
don't
So we
worry.
start Wednesday next week, as you said, and we go
Yes,
through to Christmas, and
yes,
we have a 3 or 4 week break for the film festival.
of course, for Myth, absolutely. Now, let's talk about Leos Carax, which he has 3 week season of films. I mean, I love Les Amants de Pont-Neuf and Holy Motors. He's such an idiosyncratic filmmaker.
Um, very sort of punk aesthetic, I think. But having said that, he's also really well known, obviously, for his visual style.
Mm,
And as you said, Les Amants du Pont Neuf. I mean, I'd forgotten about that film. That in
mm,
fact it had incredibly troubled uh, production time, and that went way over budget, and I think that they built a set of the bridge, and then it got I think they had permission to film on the bridge, but then it didn't occur, and then they built a set, and I think part of the set got burnt down, and I
yeah,
think one of the characters broke his finger, so they had to delay the filming, and it became one of the most expensive French films of all time, but it wasn't the most expensive one, as some people have pointed out. Obviously, that film and the earlier Is a Boy Meets Girl. Um, Actually, is it Mauvais Sang? I'm confused now. Um, no, it's Mauvais Sang, isn't it? That
yes.
no. Which film is Luke Juliette Binoche in? She's
Les
in Boy
Amants de
Meets Girl.
Pont-Neuf. Yeah,
Yes, I know she's in that one, but
yeah,
she's
yeah.
also in I think
Ah,
it's Boy Meets Girl
it
as
could
well.
be. Yeah.
Anyway, she's either in that one or the Mauvais Sang,
Mauvais Sang. Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously early films
Yep,
in her career as well. And obviously Les Amours de Pont-Neuf was quite a success
yep.
eventually. And I think he's always had his cinema's always had a big punch, and it's quite different to a lot of other French filmmaking. And he's one of the people who's well, he started in the 80s, and he's continued to make French cinema, and has managed to survive very, very well. Well, others' names have kind of fallen off, I think.
Yes.
Uh,
And it's
yeah.
interesting his name is a concoction because his real name, I think, is Alex Dupont.
God, it's really hard to know what his name is, actually. I did actually look it up, and
Yes.
it's very difficult. I think you are right, but there are several other people who insist his name is something else.
Oh, okay.
And yes,
No
yeah.
problem.
But
Doesn't
I
matter.
think you are correct there. Chris,
Yeah.
actually, it's Christophe. It's no, yes, Alex Christophe Dupont, supposedly.
Uh-huh.
Um, but who knows?
Well, he's best
Who
known as
knows?
Leos Carax, so that's perfectly fine. Now, the next season, Wim Wenders. What a terrific array of films there, including Wings of Desire, of course, and other films.
Well, again, I mean, this ties in with our first season in a way, in that probably in the earlier part of his career,
Mm.
Wenders was known for making road movies,
Yes.
and he really did make probably two great road movies, Alice in the City and Kings of the Road. Kings of the
Yep.
Road being about some projectionists going around Germany and fixing projection equipment and screening some films, and you kind of feel like it's really the end of a. Well, they actually get to the border, don't they? They get to
Yes.
the end of the road and have to go back because they can't go any further. Um, we have tried to stick away from the best known of his films. No Paris, Texas there.
Mm.
Um, Chosen some of the other ones in preference. Although Wings of Desires, and Kings of the Road are the two big ones, but the lesser known ones are
Yep.
Wrong Movement and Goalkeeper's Fear of Penalty and State of Things. And State of Things, of course, is Sam Fuller in it as well. And I think that's also got Roger Corman. I think that makes a brief appearance in it also
Uh-huh.
along the way.
Okay.
So, he's obviously someone who's obsessed with American, not just American film. He was a real, he really loves his cinema. A great fan of Nicholas Ray, but much more broadly, I mean, he was into music, I think, more than anything else, which again shows through in his films. And of course, Nick Cave did scores for several of his films as well. Nick Cave,
Hmm.
who's on tonight, tomorrow night, in Melbourne. Um,
Okay.
but just a little plug there, I guess.
Okay.
Um, so yeah,
All right. Very good. Now, on April 8th, you're screening 27A. What a great film that is. And Going Down, an underrated film. So good to see that.
well, they're two films from the what late mid 70s to early 80s.
Hmm.
I think 27A is one of the until the new wave broke, which I think is really the Australian new wave broke, which is a year or two later.
Yep.
That was really probably the finest film since the 70s, since the 50s, maybe, or certainly the early 60s. So
Yep.
it won the AFI award for the best film of the year.
Hmm.
And it's a fairly little low key thing, but it's a truly great film.
Hmm.
It's got Bill Hunter in it well and Richard Moyer.
Yep.
And then we've got Going Down, which is probably Hayden Keen's what do we say? The other great film that he was involved in. He was the producer of 27A, which was
Yep.
directed by Esmond Storm, and then they had worked together for a little while, but then decided to part company. I don't think they left under bad conditions, but then he went on to make, as I said, Going Down, which is basically instead of being like it's maybe a reaction to the film Husbands, where you have all these men going off and misbehaving. The Cassavetes film. In
Yeah.
this film, it's a bunch of girls basically going off because one of their friends is leaving to go to Europe, and they misbehave over one weekend as well. So it's a
Okay.
nice uh, companion piece to the Husbands, the Cassavetes film.
Sure. No, I'm
And
glad you.
then, of course, we
Yep.
have the
Yep.
Ryuki Hamaguchi film,
Yes.
A Season, which was a package that came along. And, I mean, the guy's probably best known for, well, he got the Oscar for Drive My Car a few
Yep.
years ago. Very long film, and it drew people's attention to him. But he's actually been making films since the 80s. And so what we have here is a season of the stuff that predates Drive My Car, most of which are really, really wonderful films as well. There's a student film there as well that he made in collaboration with another filmmaker, a documentary um, about, well, people talking about the change in environment and things. But I mean, he's a filmmaker that has in a sense, he's a bit like Wenders as well. Fairly languid pace, and there's lots of digressions to all kinds of things. And it's really, really exciting to be able to show these early works, most of which haven't been seen here at
Yes.
all.
I remember also his film Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy, which is screening as in the first week of
Yes,
that season, which is great. Yeah.
yes. That was, I think, the first of his films to get released here, in fact.
Yes, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
good stuff. Now, you have a season of films featuring actress Julie Christie, and that is so good to see. The McCabe and Mrs. Miller, Darling, of course, John Schlesinger's film, The Go-Between, and so on. It's terrific to see that.
Well, I mean, she started making films at the beginning of the whole swinging 60s thing, and she was really the icon, or one of the icons of all that in London.
Yep.
And she made three films basically that were made during that period that really kind of helped promote the whole thing and made her a big name on the screen. I mean, Darling is a brand new restoration.
Ah,
Um, we were lucky to get that, I think. It's only just been released around. And then we go right through to well, 15 years ago when she made Away From Her, where she plays a character who's suffering from that thing that seems to be shown now in a lot of films, Alzheimer's
yes,
disease.
yes.
So, I mean, she was there first with Sarah Polley, a little known filmmaker, and that final double bill is actually by, well, female filmmakers
Yep.
that Julie Christie made films with.
Yes. Excellent season. Okay, good one. All right, next we have Johnny Toe, and Election is one of my favorite films.
Oh yeah. Um, he's amazing. I mean, he made what is it? Something like 33 films in 15 years. He was just churning them out,
Mm,
a whole variety of things. Um, Mainly gangster films, or there's a sprinkling of other things. Very much um, homages to, well, Melville first off, but also Martin Scorsese, who he says is his favourite film director, and Kurosawa and Jacques Demy. So, very, very strong French influence there as well. But also, I think they're very much grounded in the period and the time and the milieu. I mean, I was watching a couple of his films a few weeks ago, which we aren't screening, and you really get a much better sense of what life in Hong Kong must be like from watching those than most of the films made by better known directors. I mean, they're really kind of quite working class. They're set in the high rise buildings. They're going downstairs to have their meals and things, and you don't have the cool music that you have in Wong Kar-wai films either. But
mm.
I mean, there's a lot of great action scenes in his films, and I mean, yeah, we're really excited to be showing that. He's
Good one.
definitely someone
Yep, excellent stuff.
had his peak in his 70s, or the early 2000s. Yeah,
2000. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some
yeah.
years ago at the Munich Film Festival, I had the pleasure of meeting Roy Andersson. And I think it was
All
about
right.
his A Pigeon Sat on a Branch reflecting on existence. I mean, he's such a good filmmaker, so self-effacing too. So great, you've got a season of his films.
I know. What did someone say? He's oh God, let me think for a minute. Anyway, yes, his films are, I mean, they're comedy. Most of them are comedies. I don't think Swedish Love Story is, though. That's
Hmm.
his very first film made in the 70s.
Yep.
That's basically a fairly graphic, I think, love story.
Yep.
Um, but then suddenly something obviously happened to him and he started making these, they're very, very gentle kind of uh, comedies, which I think you could sit through and maybe you wouldn't get the joke, but they are quite, they're very odd, very surreal, aren't
Yes.
they?
Yes.
Um,
I call them social satires.
Yeah, I know what it was. He's the dystopic Tati, which he is
Ah, yeah.
in
Okay.
ways,
Yep.
isn't he?
Yep. That's fair
Because
comment.
Tati's humour's quite gentle too,
Yes.
but he's really he's a very very odd sense of humour.
Yes.
Yes, um, most of the films are relatively short, and yeah, it's a real joy to be putting those on, and everyone was quite keen on us screening those.
Excellent. Excellent
And then
stuff.
we have a change of pace
Yes. Nice
to
contrast.
Spike Lee. Yes.
Yes.
Again, we've tried to stay a little bit off the better known titles uh, of Spike Lee's. I mean, he's a remarkable filmmaker. I
Mm.
think he's always had a great ability and show what he can do with cinema, and you can just be awestruck by what you're seeing on the screen. Um, he's had a varying career. I mean, he's made some not so wonderful films,
Yep.
but I think he will have got a fine selection. My two, the two I think are my favourites in this season. First of all, is Four Little Girls, which I haven't seen for maybe 15 or so years, and I've actually tried to have shown a few other times. That's a documentary about the famous bombing of the Baptist Church, the 16th Street
Ah,
Church
yes.
in.
Yep.
It's a really tough doco. And the other one, which we gave up on and then kind of like managed to track down where it was, and then we couldn't get anybody on the phone, and that's Malcolm X,
Ah,
which has really entered a kind of a dead zone or something. I suspect the company that now has it are actually a company that's involved in closing down other businesses that have gone bankrupt.
yeah.
Um, and so I think they do, and they specialize in doing that for film distribution companies, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And they're called Resurrections. Um, and I think
Ironically.
so that's part of the problem is
Yep.
that they were probably trying to move the rights onto somebody else. But beyond that, I suspect that probably part of the issue has got to do with the music rights because so many films nowadays that you can't get a hold of. The reason is really that the license on the rights has expired, and often the only
Yeah.
way you can get to see them if an organisation has a screening of the film for free. And we've done that on a couple of occasions where we've screened things on the night, and anybody who turns up can go in, without having to be a member. Although most people have memberships already.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. And I also love Summer of Sam, I must say. That's such a good film too.
35 mil print. That season is mainly 35 mil.
Uh-huh.
Yes, in fact, some School Days, I think, is the only one that's not. We did try to get a couple of the other titles. Again, it's very hard to locate where the films are, and even when you do, it's hard to get somebody who can return your emails or phone calls.
Right.
Yes, we had to, in all desperations, we had to ring people on the phone.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
this happened with this surgeons company. We got the CEO of the business, and he said, "Yes, I'll get the guy to return your call." And he didn't, and he didn't, and he didn't, and then eventually he just had to because we kept hounding him with our emails.
Should send Sam after him. But anyway, that's very good. Great season. Now, I always love seeing New Zealand films and love to see more of them. And Jeff Murphy did such a good one with The Quiet Earth from the mid-80s, a really powerful film.
Well, see, even before that, he made Goodbye Pork Pie, which is
Yes.
kind of, I guess, a smaller film, a bit more wacky and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was the one that really, well, helped. break New Zealand films to the world.
Yes.
And of course, now half the films made got some stuff made in New Zealand, or half the
Yes.
box office of the world comes out of New Zealand. Um, and then, yes, as you said, he made the really fabulous Quiet Earth,
Mm.
which Neil deGrasse Tyson regards as one of the great works of cinema. So there you go. And then we've got Utu Redux, which is basically a rearrangement and shortening of the film to fit in more with, probably what the filmmaker originally wanted before they got, the producers got a hold of it and reworked it all. But
Ah.
yeah, no, it's great to
Oh,
be showing that. And again,
excellent.
I mean,
Yeah.
the person who arranged for us to screen them, she's been trying for quite a few years to get it all happening, and it finally did. Yes.
Okay, great stuff. All right, let's keep moving. Mario Bava. Ah, what a filmmaker.
Well, he's probably, the thing he's known for is the Barbara Steele film Black Sunday, which is a remarkable film. It's
Yes.
definitely one of my favorites. Um, And he had quite a prolific, not as many films as I thought he didn't make as many films as I thought he actually did. But he did make a lot of films, and most of them are kind of in the, what do we call it, horror slasher kind of
Yeah.
genre. But he did tend to make all sorts of things. He made a Western, which I've read about, and I don't know if I really want to watch it, but anyway. Danger Diabolik, which we've got on, is kind of one of those very sort of, I don't know, chic kind of Italian kind of, I don't know, playful, very odd sci-fi films, a bit like The Tenth Victim, which we have also screened on occasion.
Hmm.
They are one of those cult films that, oh, well, it's like Barbarella too. It's that kind of, I don't know what you call films from that period, those Italian sci-fi films, I guess,
Yep.
which have great set design and outrageous costumes, but incredibly not taking them serious at all. Um, but anyway, so he
Yes.
basically started off, got made his name in horror cinema in Italy, several of which were, kind of edited and re-edited into all sorts of versions. And slowly he became more and more graphic in his material. So he's almost on the kind of the the exploitation. I mean, I think most of his films are fairly, ungraphic or relatively not graphic, but things like Rabid Dogs, which is you could almost see as a kind of a remake of Straw Dogs in a way.
Right.
And in fact, it's about the same time as well. Um, and I think that one ran into lots of censorship issues. But he was a cinematographer before he started directing films, and in fact fell into directing films because the director of the film he was working on became ill, and he had to take over.
Okay.
And he did such a worthy job that he's gone on to become, well, what certainly Italy's second most famous horror film director. And he
Okay.
doesn't take himself seriously at all.
All
At
right.
all. He was totally very dismissive of his films.
Fair enough. We've got about 5 minutes or so left. Now, Czech films, you always have a collaboration with Casper and so on. So it's good to see some Czech films again.
Zdeněk Liska, who's a composer,
Yep.
he also had a lot of input into the filmmaking direction as well, and the narratives. He's got quite a broad range of kind of he's was trained in classical music, but he also has a big hand in experimental music as well. So this 3 nights is to display the wide variety of his work, but also to highlight some of the real groundbreaking films that have been made in the Czech Republic
Yep.
over, well, in the 60s to the 2000s. So we had
Yes.
the Cremator and Shop on High Street as well,
Yep.
and
Oh,
All of the
excellent.
Bees,
Yep.
which we would
Excellent,
have
Cecil.
liked to show last year, but was
Yeah.
due to various things was not available.
things happen. I'm glad you're showing it this year. All right, very good. Marcel Carné, Les Enfants du Paradis. What a film.
Yes. So he started off during the period of the Popular Front when, all the workers were rising up and trying to get themselves better working conditions and more holidays. He made a bunch of, he became known as a director in the poetic realism period with Le Jour se lève and Hôtel de Nord. We're showing Le Jour se lève in our season. As you said, Les Enfants de Paradis made the end, but still in occupied France,
Yep,
but did include a number of people who were hidden out of the way, kept away from the Nazis, so they wouldn't be arrested and taken away.
yep,
Um, so he was definitely not a sympathiser to the Nazis at all.
yep,
And then post-war, he became a bit more modern of a filmmaker, but also became more involved in sort of the whole sort of dream kind of aspect of cinema as well, I think.
yes,
Um, so they became more whimsical too.
yeah,
But Electric Curves, I think, much more down to earth kind of, you know, um, kind of gangstery kind of film, and was a huge box office success. So, again, very excited to be seeing those films.
yes. Now you mentioned,
Yeah, just
yep,
go on.
Anne-Marie Mieville.
Evie,
Um,
oh yeah, Evie's so
yeah,
name. So there's two nights of her things,
yes, yes.
uh, and includes on the second night there's a whole bunch of films that she made in Palestine as well. And
Uh-huh.
as I said, she was, and several of the films that we are screening were made with Godard as well, including the Book of Mary, which is on the first night. Um, but we're really, really concentrating on her, trying to kind of allow people to see that work because, as I said, it's been very, very hard to see anyway. And I think there have been some bootlegs around, but they've been pretty lousy quality. And
Yeah,
again, I think a few things I've seen of hers makes her look like a very, very interesting filmmaker. And
yes,
as I said, Goddard definitely thought he was very upset about the fact that she wasn't as well known as she should have been.
sure. Okay, very
Then we
good.
have
I've got to keep moving because my time is starting
Yes, I
to
know.
wind
Oh,
down.
no, I was going to say, then we have Joycelyn Saab, who was
Yes.
a Palestinian filmmaker. She learned her film craft in France, went back and spent most of her life making films about Palestine. And so
Okay.
the films are basically between the 70s and the 80s, or the end of the 80s.
Yep.
Um, and it's basically to show us what, the progression of what was going on and how it all feeds into what's going on nowadays in the present
Sure.
days as
Sure.
well.
Ross Gibson.
Ross Gibson's a polymath. He was a academic at RMIT, but he was a poet. He was a writer. He was a filmmaker. He was a historian. I think he had involved with music as well, and he actually made a very seminal Australian film called Camera Natura, which was a documentary about the ways in which images of Australia are represented, or how the Australian outback is viewed by the world, and by the ways in which the filmmakers use that as a kind of idea or concept as well. And
Okay.
he died prematurely as well, and this is kind of a tribute to his works. And then
Sure.
finally
Yes, the
we have
concluding
John
John Ford.
Ford.
Yes.
So we've divided that up, obviously, three nights. The first night with seven women and Sergeant Rutledge.
Yep.
Seven Women has, again, recently been restored. The reason for those two films is that, first of all, Seven Women, oddly enough, is very much centered around females. Their female performances, and the way in which they interact. So it's a film just centered around women. And Sergeant Rutledge is a film that deals with basically African Americans. And it's a film about a very, very tough,
Yep.
strong film with Woody Strode giving a truly remarkable performance as a black cavalry troopman who
Yep.
is up against the charge of rape and murder. And then
Okay.
we have following week, young Mr. Lincoln and
Yeah.
the Oscar-winning Green Was My Valley, and the final night, again, as I said, Grapes of Wrath, the road movie, which also won an Oscar, and a silent film,
Yeah.
Three Bad Men, which I watched. Thought I'd seen it before, but it was the first time I'd seen it, and I watched it a few days ago, and it is remarkably wonderful, wonderful film. Tre Terrific performances, very, very funny. Um, Definitely something that everybody should go and see. And certainly, it's a silent film. It's the only silent film we've got on all year, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be great.
Oh, I'm glad you programmed it. Excellent season of films this year again at the Melbourne
Thank you.
Cinematheque. Tell us again, remind people how to book tickets, seasons, all that sort of thing on the website and so on.
Okay, so we run on a membership basis. You can have two types of memberships. There's a mini membership which runs for 3 weeks, and as our seasons usually run for 3 weeks anyway, you could
Mm,
actually know if you're interested in Czech cinema, join on the first night. You get 3 weeks of Czech cinema, or interested in French cinema, you can join on the first night, get to see 3 weeks of that, or you can have a 12-month membership.
mhm.
Um, both of which are great value. And you can join online. You go to the Acme website or go to our website and get redirected to the Acme website, or you can turn up before a screening and sign up then. But most people seem to do it online nowadays.
They do,
The week
they
before
do.
a week, yeah.
Excellent
Prices?
stuff. Yes,
No. Okay, we'll do prices. Quite reasonable for the mini passes. Hang on, I've got to scroll to the top to get the prices. Sorry.
quick, quick.
Um, yeah. The annual memberships are $204 or $181 concession. That's 12 months from when you join, and the three consecutive nights is full 37.50 and concession 31.50. So it's really just slightly below what you'd pay if you go on a full night at a busy night in one of the seasons in one of the commercial cinemas.
Yes,
And we're Wednesday night, and we start at 7 o'clock, and we go through until about 11 or so.
absolutely. All terrific stuff at Acme, the Melbourne Cinematheque. Very, very quickly, a film you've seen recently you liked.
Begonia, I would have to say. I've
Aha.
seen a few things since then, haven't been so keen on those, but I'm not a big fan of his films. But this one really, really had me, I must say. I thought it was very funny and very, very horrible too at moments. Yes,
Okay.
really.
We'll see
Yeah.
what happens with the Oscars and the
And I've and
BAFTAs
I've
and so
been
on.
working through Alfred Hitchcock silent films as well.
Ah, okay. Yes, his silent films are really fascinating. We've
I said
been
I was working through his Hitchcock's silent films as well.
right. Okay, excellent stuff. We've been speaking to Michael Koller, who's the executive programmer of the Melbourne Cinematheque 2026, and go and see lots and lots of films. There's some great seasons there. Michael, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you, Peter.
All the
Pleasure.
best. Bye
Talk
bye.
to you soon. Good
We
the
will.
movies. Bye.
Yes, I see it moves. Bye bye.